Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, we welcome everyone for today's Bhakti Vaibhav class. But before that, let's do the recitation of the shlokas and then we'll begin. So, this is from chapter 3 onwards. Ete cham sakalhapam saha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge Krishne Swadhama Upagate Dhamagyanadibhi saha Kalau Nashtradrashamisha Puranarko Dunoditaha Nayat Vachaschitrapadam Hariryashu Jagat Pavitram Praganita Karhichet Tadvayasam Te Tamushanti Manasa Nayatra Hamsa Niramanti Usikshaya Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Nabadavati Api Namaninantasya Shankitani Yat Shanvanti Gayanti Gananti Sadhavaha Tyaktva Swadharmam Charanam Bhujam Harir Bhajan Apakvota Pate Tato Yadi Yatra Kava Bhadram Abud Amushyakim Govatu Apto Bhajatam Sadharmataha Tasyeva hetu prayateta kovido na labhyate yad brahmatam upari yadaha tallabhyate dukkhavad anyatha sukham kalina sarvatra gavira ramhasa yasya vaishuryamanayam krishne paramapurushe bhaktir utpadyate pumsaha Shoka moha bhaya apaha Atmaramaschamanyo nirgantapi urukrame Kurvanti yahetu kim bhaktim Ittam bhuta guno hari Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namah Pankajnavaya Namah Pankajamaline Namah Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangriye Vipadashantu Taha Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagatguru Bhavato Darshanam Yasyad Apunar Bhava Darshanam Janmashwarya Shruta Shribhir Edaman Madhapuman Naivarhati Abhidatum Vai Tvam Kinchana Gocharam Tvai me ananya vishya Matir madhupate sakrat Ratam udvatad adha Gangai vaugham udhanvati Bhavadvidha bhagvata Stita bhuta swayam vibhu Titi kurvanti tirthani Swantastena gadabrata Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we welcome everyone for today's Bhakti Vaibhav class. We are reading from 1st Canto, 11th chapter. And we are going to resume our discussion from verse number 25. We'll begin from 25. Let's just quickly do a recap of what are the sections. So this is how this 11th chapter can be classified into different sections. So what has happened until now, or what we discussed last time, is now Krishna reaches at the outskirts of Dwarka. He blows his conch and everyone gets to know Krishna has returned from Hastinapur. And they run to the main gate, to welcome Lord Shri Krishna. So that is the first 10 verses. Then 11 to 15, then Dwarka city is described, how they beautifully decorated Dwarka to welcome Lord Shri Krishna. And then The guest reception principles are also discussed here. How do we, welcome devotees? So welcome guests. From verse 16 to 22, then it was a discussion about welcome by various people, the brahmanas, the prostitute, and all kinds of people, and then Lord's reciprocation to them. Finally, from 22 verse onward, Lord enters the city, and now Krishna's beauty is described, and an Achintya feature was described. When he was walking onto the street, his beauty has been described as if the sun, the moon, the rainbow, the dark rain clouds have simultaneously appeared in the sky together. If there is a sun, there is no question of moon. And if there is a dark rain cloud, there is no question of sun. And if there is a sun, then there is no question of rainbow. So they're contradictory. They don't exist together. But when Lord Shri Krishna was walking, it appeared as if everyone had at the horizon together. So Prabhupada says, Krishna can do inconceivable things like that. So that was the thing. And now Krishna's beauty has been described. And from then, 28th verse onwards, Lord's dealing with the residents. And then finally he entered the palace. His dealing with his mothers and with the queens would be described. That's the high level overview of this chapter. So let's take a look at text number 25. We have discussed last time, but we'll just quickly recite it. Important verse. So this was the presentation for today. We'll take a look in the book now. Text number 25. Please repeat after me. Nityam nirikshamananam yadapi dvarakaukasam na vitrapanti drashaha shriyo dhamangamachutam. So here it is described about the beauty of the Lord, particularly about the spiritual aspect. Nityam nirikshamananam. Although the devotees and the residents of Dwarkapuri were used to seeing the Lord every day, yadapi dwara kaukasam, in spite the Lord being seen every day by the residents of Dwarkavasis, na vitrapantihi drashaha, but yet they were never satisfied. So, just like Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, how much ever material happiness you get, ye hi sansparsha jab hoga, dukha yoniya evate. It only gives birth to dukha or hankering. Interestingly, in the spiritual realm also, there is no satiation. You can't say, okay, I'm satisfied. You are satisfied, but your hankering for more keeps on increasing. So last devotee wants to see Lord again and again. So Prabhupada speaks for the law of satiation in this world and the spiritual world. Shriyo dhamangam achyutam. Such is the beauty of the Lord. Even despite seeing Him every day in and out, yet the devotees will say, Ye dil mange more. Okay, a quick point over here. When you read the purpose and the descriptions of the Lord's beauty, how is Lord described? How many of you agree? Looks like Krishna only wears a one color dhoti. Does not have much ornaments also. The same Vajanti Mala, same old peacock feather, same flute and the bugle hanging by his flute in his hand and bugle hanging by his the waist. Almost more or less similar, isn't it? You don't hear that, okay, on Monday Krishna wore yellow dhoti, and Tuesday wore red dhoti, and Wednesday he wore purple dhoti. The same yellow dhoti every day. Despite having the same thing, because that's how it's been described. It doesn't look like Krishna wears some other color dhoti. He could, but it is in the pages of Bhagavatam, it is described to have always wear yellow color dhoti. Yes, devotees are not satisfied. So, again, going back to the spiritual component, just like chanting the holy names of the Lord, many times people wonder. In fact, when you read Prabhupada Lilamrita, you will see that when those early days devotees, when they got Hare Krishna Mahamantra, after a while they were thinking, every day we have to chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So those early day devotees, they used to come very excited whenever they will get some new mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It was a big excitement, moment of excitement for them. Areva, we got another mantra to chant. Different mantra like that. And then Prabhupada introduced Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. And different mantras Prabhupada gradually introduced. But Prabhupada said, the test of your advancement or the nature of spiritual item is such, you are never satisfied. You want to chant more and more. When a living entity is getting purified of material contamination, then his attraction for spiritual subject matter would naturally increase. And how much ever he chants the holy name of the Lord, he would never be content, satisfied. Of course, now never a question of frustration here. So like this, Prabhupada in the purport talks about spiritual versus material, and then Srila Prabhupada speaks about spiritual beauty versus material beauty. And Prabhupada says in the purport, the fourth line, we discussed last time, I'm just doing a quick recap because these verses are connected. The fourth line, anything material seen for a number of times ultimately becomes unattractive by the law of satiation. The law of satiation acts materially, but there is no scope for it in the spiritual realm. The word infallible is significant here because although the Lord has mercifully descended, He is still infallible. And then Prabhupada concludes the purport. No one therefore is satiated by seeing the transcendental body of the Lord, because there are always manifestations of newer and newer beauties. The transcendental name, form, qualities, entourage, etc. are all spiritual manifestations, and there is no satiation in chanting the holy name, no satiation in discussing the qualities of the Lord, and there is no limitation of the entourage of the Lord. He is the source of all and is limitless. So, when it is said there is no satiation, it also means there is no retirement age in Krishna consciousness. In the material life, after 60 you're supposed to get retired. But in Krishna consciousness, our Acharya became active post-retirement only. At the age of 70. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was active before also, but he became super active. And he became so active after the age of 70 that he traveled around, 14 times around the world in 12 years or something like that. So when it is mentioned law of satiation exists in the material world, which means you get frustrated after a while. There is an end to everything. There is an end to your job also. There is a retirement age. But in Krishna consciousness, as we are progressing, as we are growing, the symptom of our growth in Krishna consciousness, the growth in spiritual life is we should be taking up more and more responsibilities. We should be finding more and more satisfaction in chanting the names of the Lord, hearing about the Lord's, or being with the devotees of the Lord, like that. That's the whole idea. It's not that we get frustrated. Text number 26. So now 4 aspects of Lord beauty have been described. Shriyo Nivasa Yasyoriha. So Shri resides at the of the Lord. Pan Mukham Drasham. His face drinking vessel for the nectar of his beauty. Bahavo Lokapalana. His arms acts as a resting place for all the protectors of the world. Saranganam Padambujam. Saranganam here refers to devotees. Padambujam have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The large chest is the abode of the goddess of fortune. Now there is one thing very interesting about the goddess of fortune being said in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, I hope if not, please write down this point, because today there are going to be a lot of philosophical things. If you don't write down, you will forget. So first, our starting point today was the principle of law of satiation. Spiritual beauty versus material beauty. Write down 2-3 points. Then it will be easy for us to build upon this discussion. Law of satiation, spiritual beauty versus material beauty. And then in Krishna consciousness, there is no retirement. As we grow, we take more and more responsibilities. We render more and more service. Ye dil mange more, period. That's the point. Okay, now coming to the next verse, text number 20. Shriyo Nivaso Yasyuryaha. Shri, Mother Goddess of Fortune, resides on the chest of the Lord. That's very pretty interesting point. Mother Lakshmi resides on the chest of the Lord. What is the peculiar or uniqueness of this statement? Mother Lakshmi resides on the chest of the Lord. What is the uniqueness of this statement? Shriyo Nivaso Yasyorya. The Lord's chest is the abode of the goddess of fortune. And what's his relationship with Lord's beauty? Mother Lakshmi, Apagoenpu, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Mother Lakshmi is the dearmost devotee, and whatever is dear to heart, so it resides in the heart. So that's
Okay.
significance it carries.
So the idea is, in this context, the point is, Mother Lakshmi is known for her fickleness, chanchal nature. So Mother Lakshmi is known to be chanchalam. So she cannot stay at one place. But when it comes to Vishnu, she takes shelter of Lord Vishnu. She becomes subservient to Lord Vishnu. That's how Lord Vishnu glories are mentioned here when it is said in the context of Mother Lakshmi. The Lord's chest is the abode of the goddess of fortune. Everyone is chasing after goddess of fortune. And where is goddess of fortune? She has taken shelter at she has taken shelter of Lord Narayan or the Lord, like that. His moon-like face is the drinking vessel for eyes which hanker after all that is beautiful. So his face is so beautiful. His arms are the resting places for the administrative devatas. All of them, they get their strength from the arms of the Lord. And his lotus feet are the refuge of pure devotees who never talk or sing of any subject except his lordships. So this is a point Prabhupada mentioned. Everyone is seeking after the favor of the goddess of fortune. And for them, the Vedic literatures give information that the Lord is always served with all reverence by not one, but thousands and thousands of goddesses of fortune in Chintamani Dham. Like that. Okay. Devotees, Saram, so I call administrators. Let's go to text number 27. सीतात पत्रा वयजनेरुपस्कृतः प्रसूनवर्षे अभिवर्षिता पति पीशङ्गवासा वनमालया बभो गहनो यथार्को रूपचापवैद्युतिः Now, text number 27. As the Lord passed along the public road of Dwarka, his head was protected. Yeah, this is the verse actually. His head was protected from the sunshine by a white umbrella. White feather fans moved in semicircles, and showers of flour fell upon the road. His yellow garments and garlands of flowers made it appear as if a dark cloud was surrounded simultaneously by sun, the moon, lightning, and rainbows. So it's an analogy has been described here, has been given. The purpose of analogy is to help us understand which is beyond our sense perception. So through this analogy, what will happen if the sun, moon, lightning, and the rainbow would have to simultaneously appear in the sky? Something like that was the amazing beauty of the Lord. That's the point in the purport. Then text number 28. Now Lord enters the palace. Pravishtastu graham pitro parisvaktaha swamatrabhi vavande shirasa sapta devaki pramukha muda. Pravishtastu graham pitro, he entered into the palace of his father. Then Pravish Saktaha Sumatrabi, and then he entered into the palaces of his own mothers. Vavande Sirasa Sapta, and then he went and put his head, offered his obeisances, Sapta to 7. And then Devaki Pramukha Mudaha, and to Mother Devaki. So who are the 7 mothers? 7 plus 1. He went and offered obeisances to 7 mothers and to Mother Devaki. Pramukhamuda. After entering the house of his father, I'm reading the translation, he was embraced by mothers present, and Lord offered his obeisance unto them by placing his head at their feet. Sirasaha. The mothers were headed by Devaki, his real mother. So how many mothers did Krishna had? He says 7 plus 1, 8. Who are the 7 mothers? Don't look into the purport.
Wife of spiritual master. So these are the 7 mothers.
So Krishna went and he offered obeisances to these 7 mothers.
Apart from the mother who gave.
So what are the 7 mothers that we're going through?
The earth.
Okay, Bhudevi.
Bhudevi. Then the cow, the wife
Cow.
Wife of the spiritual
Wife
master.
of spiritual master.
Wife of Brahmana.
Wife of Brahmana. Then? Alright, these are now the 7 mothers which has been talked about here. So how many queens Vasudeva had? Asking a question, preparing yourself for Janmashtami. How many queens did Mother Satyavati says? 8. No, not 8. Poonam says 300 plus. Mother Jyoti says 16. Mother Swarnangi says 2. So much speculation. Between 1 to 300, everyone is giving different teacher here. Mother Upma says 18. That's the correct answer. Vasudeva had 18 queens, of which 8 he was married to the daughters of King Devaka. And King Devaka had 8 daughters, of which Devaki was one of the daughter. So among these 18 mothers, Sapta, which has been mentioned, refers to the sisters of Devaki. So they all came forward because they had special affection for Krishna because he was a son of Devaki. And among the 8, Devaki has been mentioned separately as Devaki. Purport. It appears that Vasudeva, the father Lord Krishna, had completely separate residential quarters. First thing Prabhupada talks about, ladies had separate quarters, palaces, and fathers had separate quarters. Prabhupada doesn't miss out a chance on humbling Kali Yuga Prani, who is very proud of their 3 BHK. So Prabhupada says they had separate palaces. But in spite of all this, all of the stepmothers, where he lived with his 18 wives. So there were 18 queens of Vasudeva, of which 8 were of the daughters of Devaka, like that. And then Prabhupada speaks about what are in general in scriptures 7 mothers means. Prabhupada gives an example for it. Okay, so fine. Let's go to text number 29. Taha putram ankamaropya. I want everyone reciting verses loudly, okay? Get excited about it. Taha putram ankamaropya. Sneha snuta payodharaha. Harsha vihavalit atmanaha. Shishicho netra jay jalehe. So how did mothers responded? The mothers, after embracing their sons, set him on their laps. Due to pure affection, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and the tears from their eyes wetted the Lord. Prabhupada says in the purport, just like in Krishna when he was in Vrindavan, when mother cows would take a look at Krishna, the milk bags will become filled with milk. So, seeing Krishna, which means when a living entity comes in contact with the Lord, his love for the Lord is revived naturally, and he becomes overflowing with emotions for the Lord. It's just because it's just like magnet, iron magnet, something like that. So that's our situation. So whoever comes in contact, we have example of Dhruv Maharaj. He came in contact with the Lord's conch and he got spiritualized, and he also had a tears rolling down his cheeks when he was offering prayers. So when we come in contact with the Lord, it's but natural that our heart becomes filled or overflows with emotion. That is being described here. And we all have had some iota of that experience. Let's say we have gone from Vrindavan Yatra or Mayapur Yatra. We take the darshan of the beautiful Shri Radha Shyam Sundar or Radha Madhav and Ashta Sakhis. Once upon a time, at least once in a while, our heart also becomes overflow. And the tears begins to tears begins to roll down the cheeks for no reason. We don't know. But it just happens. So these are just natural symptoms. Text number 30. Atha vishasvabhavanam sarvakamam manuttamam prasadayatra patnina sahasrani cha sodasha. So atha vishasva bhavanam. After that, after exchanging greeting with mothers, what did Krishna do? Atha vishas. Thereafter, avishat. He entered swabhavanam. Whose bhavan? Swabhavanam. He entered his own quarters or palaces. Sarvakamam anuttamam. Sarvakamam anuttamam. Anuttam is perfect, the best. Sarvakamam, which can fulfill all desires. That is a description of Lord's bhavan. Prasadayatra patnina. Prasad here doesn't refer to khane wala prasad. Prasada refers to palaces. So he entered the palaces yatra patnina, where his wives were waiting. How many wives? Sahasrani cha shodashaha. Sahasrani is how much? 1000. Shodasha means 16. So how many wives? But that is incorrect. How many wives Krishna had? 16,000? 16,108, na? But it is in 16,000 wives. Therefore I am reading Sanskrit. Pay attention. Sahasrani cha shodashaha. So that's the beauty of Sanskrit here. So it says Shodasa 16 and Sahasrani 1000, 16,000. Sahasrani cha. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions cha here also end refers to 108 queens. That's how it becomes 16,000 plus 108, 16,108. Are you getting a little bit here? So this is how. So if somebody want to really go ahead and study Sanskrit and start translating, is not so easy. Cha you will generally read as also an end. So here, us cha ke sang 108 is added by default. So that's how the beauty of Sanskrit composition is. Thereafter, the Lord entered his palaces, which were perfect to the fullest extent. His wives lived in them, and they numbered over 16,000. So, Prabhupada is saying he had 16,000 wives and 16,000 palaces. So, Krishna now entered. Now, my question here is, which palace did he enter? First palace, second palace, or the last palace? What proof do you have?
All the palaces only.
Proof, but from here.
What proof do you have?
Just like.
Not just like. What proof do you have? You say from here. Na? Look at the verse and say. Don't speculate or quote here and there. So, prasada is palaces, yatra patninam. So, when it is said, atha avishat, so bhavanam, he entered his palaces, swa bhavanam, which means he expanded. This is called as Vaibhava Prakash. This is called as Vaibhav Prakash Leela. So, Lord expanded simultaneously himself into 16,000 forms and he entered. 16,108 forms, and he entered in each of it simultaneously. That's how it's been described. Text number 31. Okay? So Prabhupada in the purport emphasizes, therefore Lord is said to be Yogeshwaraha, the Lord of all the yogic or the mystic power. The best of the yogi in this creation can expand himself at max to 8 forms or 9 forms, like Kadama Muni does in that canto. But Krishna can expand himself into unlimited forms. That is called as Vaibhava Prakash. Text number 31. Patnaya patim prosya grhanupagatam vilokya sanjata mano mahotsavaha Utasthurara sahasasanashaya Sakam vrate vridita lochanananaha. So now Krishna entered the palaces and they were the queens. How did queens responded? Patneya patim prosha grahanu. So grahanu pagatam, the Lord who was away now have returned back to the palace or to his queens. Vilokya sanjata mano mahosavaha. So their mind began to celebrate. It was Maha Utsavaha. So last time, if you remember, when we were discussing welcoming Krishna entering Dwarka, I was making a point how excited we should get, or we should get into that mood and consciousness, and that we're going to welcome Krishna on the day of Janmashtami. So this chapter gives some clues on that. So Viloka Sanjata Mano Mahosavaha. So their mind was in great jubilation. There was a great festival like that. Uthasthur Arat Sahasa Asana Ashayat. So Sahasa, all of a sudden, Asana, they were sitting, and Ashayat. So they all were, so this now Sukdev Goswami is describing, Vasudha Goswami is describing what the queens were doing, because Krishna was not there. They were sitting in their respective places and they were lost in trance thinking about Krishna. And now suddenly they heard Krishna have come, so they suddenly, Uthasthur Arat, suddenly they got up from their asana. Their samadhi broke because now Krishna have come in person. Sakam vrate vridita lochananaha. Lochana, and how did they responded to that? Vridita lochananaha. So this is about the nature of a woman when they act shyfully. So, they put their eyes down or side glances. That is how has been defined, lochana anaha, with such faces. The queens of Lord Krishna rejoiced within their minds to see their husband home after a long period abroad. The queens got up at once from their seats in meditation. As was socially customary, they covered their face shyly and looked about coyly. So, a beautiful purport about glories of the Lord. So the first part of the purport is Vaibhav Prakash. So in the first paragraph, Prabhupada is discussing about how Krishna expanded into 16,008 forms. That is called as Vaibhav Prakash form, like that. And then Prabhupada says, people argue, people think, oh, how Krishna can get married to 16,000 wives? But Prabhupada says, well, please understand, they were all expansions of Krishna's internal energy only. So Krishna loving himself is not a violation of the principle of Atmaram. So what to speak of Krishna getting married to 16,000? Even if Krishna would have to get married to 16 million for that reason. Why? Mame Vam Sujiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are all part and parcel of the Lord. We are all expression of the Lord. So whose part and substance we are? Of the Lord. And if the Lord rejoicing with his own part and parcel is not breaking of the rule of Atmara. Because he is rejoicing with his own expansion. It's not that he is dependent on somebody else. Therefore, Prabhupada says in the purport, in the first paragraph conclusion, even if Krishna has to get married to 16 millions, it's not a surprise. Like this, and then Prabhupada talks about the Yajna Valkya's religious injunctions about ladies. I don't know how much are applicable. So, do I have the permission to read from the ladies about the ladies' code of conduct? I'm not sure how much is applicable in Kali Yuga. Okay, Mother Janki, we'll hear from you. Please read. Second paragraph.
Yes, Prabhu.
Therefore, as soon as the queens, from there.
According to Yajnavalkya's religious injunctions, a woman whose husband is away from home should not take part in any social functions, should not decorate her body, should not laugh, and should not go to any relative's house in any.
Okay, so we're just reading it. These are the injunctions in certain time, place.
Yeah, this is the vow of the ladies whose husbands were away from home. At the same time, it's also enjoined that a wife should never present herself before the husband in an unclean state. Decorate herself with ornaments and good dress and should always be present before the husband in a happy and a joyous mood. The queens of Lord Krishna were all in meditation, thinking of the Lord's absence and were always meditating upon him. The Lord's devotees cannot live for a moment without meditating on the Lord. And what to speak of the queens, borrowed offices of 40 years, incarnated as queens of the pastimes of the Lord at Dwarka. Hare Krishna.
The Yajnavalkya's set of instruction Prabhupada quoted after that is all about the relationship between the Lord and the devotees, how they just cannot be separated from each other. Even if the Lord is away, the devotee within his core of the heart is thinking about the Lord. But here was something which was mentioned. I just thought it's important to read. So someone comes and challenges you about certain things, so we are able to see in right context. So Prabhupada have quoted here, Prabhupada is not expecting that to be practiced. Prabhupada is presented an idea how the Yajnavalkya's set of instructions are, what has been said about it. So everything has to be seen according to time, place, circumstances. So maybe at that point of time in the culture, it was prevalent. Okay. So how the ladies got up suddenly, that has been described from Srila Vishnu Thakur's कहते हैं purport. Same thing. Okay, let's read that. Mother, can you go and read the last segment? According to Srila Vishnu Thakur. If you see that, please read the last segment.
According to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, there was a regular psychological reaction. First of all, rising from their seats, although they wanted to see their husband, they were deterred because of the feminine shyness. But due to strong ecstasy, they overcame the stage of weakness and became caught up with the idea of embracing the Lord. And this thought factually made them unconscious of their surrounding environment. This prime state of ecstasy annihilated all other formalities and social conventions, and thus they escaped all stumbling blocks on the path of meeting the Lord. That is a perfect stage of meeting the Lord of the soul, Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So that is the perfect stage of meeting the Lord of the soul, Sri Krishna, like that. Okay. So text number 32. So now the purports are going to become a little more intense. So from 34, 35, 36 purport is what we're going to focus and going to have some exercise. So I'm just building up the discussion until then, okay? Text number 32. Tamatmaje drishtibhir antaratmanah duranta bhava parirebhire patim niruddhamapi ashravat ambunetrayo Vilajjatinam Raghuvarya Vaiklava. So now those emotions have been described here, and more or less manifestations of ecstasy here. So, Tam Atmaje Drishtabhi Antaratmana. So when the queen saw their husband, or not their husband, her husband, because there's one husband for many of them. So when all of them saw Krishna written to each one of them, like that, so we discussed about the culture at that point of time. They all became shy, but because they saw Krishna after such a long time, they wanted to tightly embrace him. This is a function of affection. They wanted to embrace him. So in that way, Tam Atmaje Drishtapi Antaratmana. So they did that with their eyes. Where? Within the core of their heart. And then they sent their sons forward. Duranta bhava parirebhripatim niruddham api asha ambunetreyor. So they sent their son forward to embrace the father. The insuperable ecstasy was so strong that the queens who were shy first embraced the Lord in the innermost recess of their hearts. Then they embraced him visually. Then they sent their sons to embrace him. But, O chief amongst the Bhrigus, though they tried to restrain their feelings, they inadvertently shed tears. And tears began to roll down. Text number 33. Yadyapi yasu pashavagatho raho gatas tatha pitasyang riyugam navam navam Pade pade ka virameta tatpada Challapi yashrena jahati karhiche. So, navam navam tasyangri yugam navam navam. So, all the Lord Krishna was constantly by their sides as well as exclusively alone. His feet appear to them to be navam and navam. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, we were making this point before, could not quit the Lord's feet. So, what woman can be detached from those feet having once taken shelter of them? So, Prabhupada writes in the purport, conditioned living beings are always chasing after the favor of the goddess of fortune, but by nature, she is always moving from one place to another. At the end of the first paragraph, Prabhupada writes, the spiritual relationship with the Lord is so enlivening and resourceful that no one can leave the company of the Lord once having taken shelter of Him. In other words, somebody who has once taken shelter of the Lord, he just cannot go away. Even if he goes away, it will be just a temporary scene. He would come back. Once who have tasted, anything spiritual, he after that can never find satisfaction in material rasa. He will get, or she will get frustrated. So Prabhupada is making that point. And then Prabhupada makes another point. The living entities, by their constitution, feminine by nature. 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita clarifies Purusha and Prakriti. So that's the same thing. If you remember the last segment of 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Purusha and Prakriti. Who is Purusha and who is Prakriti? So Purusha is only one, the Supreme Lord. Prakriti means energy. Purusha means energetic. So energetic is Krishna and we are the energy. Mamevam sujiva loka jibuta. Again, we are the energy of the Lord. Aham bija prathapita. Krishna has given us birth or given us the form like that. So the living beings have a constitution feminine, which means Prakriti by nature. The male or enjoyer is the Lord, and all manifestation of different potencies are feminine by nature. So that's the point being described here. Purusha and Prakriti. So last paragraph. Generally people engaged in service are always seeking some post under the government of the supreme enjoyer of the state. Since the Lord is the supreme enjoyer of everything in or outside the universe, it is happiness to be employed by Him. Once engaged in the supreme governmental service of the Lord, no living being wishes to be relieved from the engagement. Therefore, the highest perfection of human life is to seek some employment under the Lord's supreme service. That will make one extremely happy. One need not seek the moving goddess of fortune without relation of the Lord. So Prabhupada is clarifying here, one need not seek after the goddess of fortune, which generally people in this world chases after. But we can get all our needs and happiness fulfilled if we take shelter of Krishna, spiritual life. Text number 34, 35, 36. These are very important verses and little complicated. Purport gets little extended here. So I want all of your attention. So three things, let me summarize this verse. Text 34 talks about leadership crisis. Text number 35 talks about family and relationships. Text number 36 talks about enjoyment. These are the three headings. You want to make a note of it and we'll try to focus. Text number 34, leadership crisis. Text number 35, family and relationship. Text number 36, enjoyment. Let's take a look at text number 34. Evam nipanam shitibhara janmanam. So Nripana means the king, Evam means thus or whenever, Shitibhara Janmanam. Shitibhara, when they become the burden to the earth. Evam Nipanam Shitibhara Janmanam. Aksho Nibi Parivratta Tejasam. So Shitibhara, how does it become a burden to the earth? Because of their huge military strength. Akshohnibhi parivarta tejasa. Vidhaya vairam shasano yathanalam. So Vihaya vairam shasano yathanalam. So Vidhaya vairam. Vairi, remember from 3rd chapter? Vairi means enemy. Vidhaya, Vidhan, Vidhata. Getting it? Vidhaya vairam shwasano yathanalam. Just like vairi, shwasano, shwasana refers to shwasana, saas lena, but shwasano refers to the interaction with the windpipe. Blowing off air, like bamboo. Yathanalam, which means when the wind blows through the forest, the branches strike against each other and they get fire. They caught fire. Vidhaya vairam shwasano yathanalam mitho vadheno parato nirayudaha. Mitho vadheno parato nirayudaha. So mitho means with one another. Vadhena uparataha nirayudaha. So vadhena means vadakarna. So Lord, what is it being described here? What did Lord do? Just like Vidhata Vairi, just like the forest fire happens on its own by the will of the providence. Similarly, Lord created animosity between the Kshatriyas, between the Yadu clan. And they fought with each other, killed each other, and died. And that's how Lord Shri Krishna delivered the earth from the burden of the huge armies that have been created by the kings. The Lord was pacified after killing those kings who were burdensome to the earth. So the point of context of discussion which we're going to have is Shiti Bhara, becoming burdensome to the earth. They were puffed up with their military strength, their horses, elephants, chariots, infantry, etc. He himself was not a party in the fight. He simply created hostility between the two powerful administrators. They fought amongst themselves, and he was like the wind which causes friction between bamboos, and so sparks of fire. So it's a beautiful puppet. So Shiti Bhara Janmanam is a beautiful point for Shastra Chakshu, because the next three verses, I want all of you to memorize an important Shastra Chakshu point here. So whenever there is a burden to the earth, the will of providence creates a friction and people become envious to each other, and they kill each other and destroy each other. Now you know why there was a First World War and Second World War. I made this point before, if not, I'll make this point now also. Europe at large had been a Christian dominated continent, literally from the 13th century. There had been no other religion apart from Christianity, maybe here and there bits and pieces of Islam, that also in the 21st century, not before. So if it had been largely a Christian dominated, of course within Christianity there's Protestant, there's Catholic and whatnot, there are different branches. Despite having more or less a similar religious faith and background, Europe had seen in the last 100 years or so 2 major wars, which turned into what we call as a world war. I mean, the whole world was not involved in neither the First World War or the Second War. They call it First World War because many of them fought, so they consider they are the world, so First World War. Yes or no? The fight was limited in Europe. The fight didn't went to America. America didn't got involved, nor Africa, nor Asia, nor Australia, but they call it a First World War. It was a first European war. So, I mean, I'm just giving you a context here, but nonetheless, it's pretty interesting. They just fought. And how this fight started? The First World War, June 1914, Austria attacked Serbia. Russia attacked Austria because Austria attacked Serbia, and because Russia attacked Austria, so Germany attacked Russia, and because Germany attacked Russia, France and Britain attacked Germany. You see that? Pretty interesting, huh? I made my notes this. So June 1914, the First World War began. Austria attacked Serbia, not Siberia, Serbia, very small European country. Seeing that, Russia became agitated and Russia attacked Austria. Seeing that Russia attacked Austria, Germany attacked Russia. And seeing that Germany have attacked Russia, who came to the rescue of Russia in one way? France and Britain, who are part of NATO today, who are actually providing arms to Ukraine to fight against Russia. And this was how, in a circle, the whole war happened. And 1918, the communist regime came into power in Russia, and all those things happened like that. That's the story. Now, if you similarly look at Second World War, it started with. The First World War started with actually killing of Prince of Austria. That was the reason. The Prince of Austria was killed, the blame was on Serbia, and that's how the whole thing started. One gentleman died and led to First World War. So many people had killed. Similarly, Second World War, Germany attacked Poland. And from there it went on. Finally, America got involved, then Japan got involved, everyone got involved, and it was a huge thing. So what I'm saying is, now we're going to look at read the puppet, and the key point is Shiti Bhara. Whenever people become burdensome to the earth, the Vidhata creates vairi, animosity, and the same people come and fight with each other. And they destroy each other. That's the point. Okay, so how do we do so? It's a big purport. I would like to share my notes here. I'll summarize the purport. In a short while, we're gonna go into an exercise. Then all of you, when we make a group work, you're gonna anyways read the purport on your entirely. So summary of Srila Prabhupada's purport. True enjoyer and proprietor. Only the Lord is the genuine proprietor and enjoyer of creation. Living beings are meant to cooperate in His plan, not to claim ownership. Very important. We are supposed to be a cooperator. Karmanevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan ma karmafal heturbhur. Do not consider yourself to be the cause. Become a cooperator. That's the point here. Illusion of enjoyment. Due to the deluding energy Maya, souls become false enjoyers, trying to dominate material nature and acting according to modes. So, illusion of enjoyment is not a reality, but it's all illusion because of their contact with modes of material nature. Burden of earths. When people act as a false enjoyer, especially leaders intoxicated by power and strength, they become a burden on the earth, making the world unfit for the righteous. Then Prabhupada speaks about dharmasya glani. Where does dharmasya glani word comes? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir. What is that? Bhavati bhaglanir. Bhavati bharata. The misuse of human energy leads to decline in dharma. Which misuse of energy? When leaders become intoxicated by power and strength. So then, doing good for everyone, they begin to exploit. So this misuse of human energy leads to decline in dharma and creates societal situations where the Lord must intervene to restore balance. So to restore balance, vidhaya vairam. Lord's intervention. How does Lord intervene? So why I'm making this point? The First World War, Second World War, whatever you're seeing is not happening by chance. It's the intervention. The Lord does not favor any side, but by His potency causes discord amongst the empire's rulers, so they destroy each other, much like the forest fire started by bamboo friction. Then Prabhupada says, material power is temporary. History repeatedly shows that the materialists and powerful rulers exhaust themselves fighting each other due to Lord's unseen arrangement. Like Napoleon died at the young age of 32. So what's the solution to this? Surrender to the Lord. Real peace and prosperity cannot be achieved by material effort, knowledge, or ideology. Deliverance from material entanglement is possible only by surrendering to Krishna. Devi Yeshugunamai Mama Maya. You cannot surpass the influence of modes of material nature unless we take shelter of the Lord. Taking shelter of the Lord is the solution. Demonic mentality. Those absorbed in material achievements, power, without knowledge of spiritual reality and trust in surrender to God are considered as demoniac, robbed of true knowledge. Papa Kosh, Namam Dushkritanumura, Prapadante Naradama. Those kind of four Dushkritinas, Prabhupada quotes in the purport. What is the purpose of human life? That's the last point Prabhupada makes in the purport. The rare opportunity of human life is meant for re-establishing our lost relationship with Krishna. Missing the point due to absorption in material pursuits leads to suffering, as exemplified by historical demons like Ravan, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa. So the point is, if leadership is wrong, then it will misguide the whole community. And as a result, because of the mistake of the leader, because they are not properly guided, the whole civilization gets misguided, and eventually the Vidhata gets into action. And to bring about the balance in the society, he creates animosity between rulers and they fight and kill each other. That's what happens. So that's our leadership crisis, okay? So Krishna says, that's what I do. Text number 35. So this is the summary of it, but we're going to look into the purport again. I'm just giving you a synopsis of it. Let's go to the next point. Text number 35 now. Family and relationship. Sa isha nara loke asmin. So Naraloke, on this planet of human beings, Sa Isha Asmin, avatirna swamayaya. So I appear, swamayaya, sambhavami atma mayaya. This is 4th chapter, verse number 6. The last line, Krishna says, sambhavami swatma maya. I appear by my own will. So avatirna swamaya reme sri ratna kutasto bhagavan prakrato yata. Prakrit means mundane. So Lord appears in this creation by his own sweet will. Reme means ramate, enjoys. Sri Ratna Kutasto, Sri Ratna, in other words, Sri Ratna Kutasto, he appears in this creation like a human, and then he gets married, he enjoys with his wife. Bhagwan Prakato Yata, as if Bhagwan is ordinary. It seems ordinary. So Krishna getting married to 16,100 queens, or Krishna performing Ras Leela, enjoying with opposite gender. It looks like a very much mundane affair. So the focus is the transcendental relationship versus mundane relationship. That is the focus of the purport. And I am going to open my notes again. Let's go to the 35th verse. So let's take a look at the synopsis here. Lord's household life. Prabhupada writes, although Krishna lived as a householder, married this many wives, this is not to be seen as mundane or material, because only the Supreme Lord could simultaneously reciprocate with so many wives in separate palaces. First point Prabhupada argues is he could expand. So he is not ordinary. Transcendental relationship. The Lord's association with his wife is never based on ordinary material relations. These wives were not common women. Attaining Krishna as a husband is a result of millions of lifetimes of intense austerity and perfected devotional service. The 10th canto speaks about who were these gopis, who were these queens. They were not ordinary individuals. They were very, very advanced yogis who had aspired to the Lord to be there, to become the consort of the Lord. What is the purpose of Krishna pastime? So, why does Krishna perform such kind of leelas which are ambiguous, could be contradictory for ordinary person? Krishna manifests such transcendental pastime in the material to attract the hearts of conditioned souls, inspiring them to revive their eternal relationship with him, whether as servants, friends, parents, lovers in the spiritual. Why Krishna performs pastimes? Answer: to attract. Again, I said these three things. Why am I going into the purport? Is Shastra Chakshu, so we memorize certain things. So when we are brought about certain situations, we know how to answer and look at it. Temporary versus eternal relations. All relationships in this world are temporary. I believe it doesn't require rocket science to believe it. It's a fact. Subject to misfortune, which means separation, people will be taken away, disease and whatnot, betrayal, cannot bring lasting happiness. But developing a relationship with Krishna leads to eternal blissful association in the spiritual realm after liberation. What is the nature of Krishna's wife? The Lord's wife, although appearing as a mortal woman, are actually liberated souls. Manifestation of his eternal energy have attained their position through perfect devotion service. So, first of all, if Krishna is said to be of Satchitananda, how can somebody who is entirely spiritual rejoice in something which is made up of matter? Yes? The body is made up of bhumir apanalo vayu khamana buddhi revacha. The body is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. Is something which is transcendental and spiritual. Now, if you remember Krishna, when he took birth, he appeared as a four-handed Vishnu form. He appeared completely dressed with jewelry and everything. He didn't appear as an ordinary boy. He appeared in his all spiritual form. He appears always like that. So somebody which is completely transcendental, how can they enjoy something made up of matter? If in case Krishna have had wives, and through the wives Krishna have had 10 sons, which means they must also be spiritual. There cannot be any matter. So this is one of the argument. There cannot be any matter. It doesn't make sense. What is supreme and joy, not mundane? Krishna as Param Brahma seeks happiness not in any material environment, but only within his transcendental spiritual relationship. Finally, material pursuit happiness. Conditioned souls constantly search for happiness through material means, even trying space travel. But only spiritual association with Krishna fulfills the soul's natural longing. So, Prabhupada quotes in the purport, people are so frustrated that they think, let's explore outer world. Let's go to Mars. Let's go to Moon. Maybe we'll find something else what we don't have here. Maybe become happy. So people are trying to escape planet Earth, go to other planets, thinking they'll find some happiness. But this whole creation is the same. You can never be satisfied anywhere, any place. and the next verse. Text number 36. So far we talked about leadership crisis, then we talked about family and relationship, and now text number 36 is enjoyment. Uddama bhava pishunamalaval guhasa vridavalokannihato madano piyasa samhuya chapam ajahat pramodatamasta Yasyendriyam vimatitum kuhake nasekhu. So this was it. Uddama bhava pishunamala valguhasa. Uddam is grave. Bhava pishunamala valguhasa. So these ladies, they were the most beautiful ladies. And the women, they could not agitate the senses of the Lord. Translation: although the queen's beautiful smiles, furtive glances were all spotless, exciting, although they could conquer Cupid by making him bow in frustration, although even the tall Shiva could fall victim to them, still, despite all their magical feats and attractions, they could not agitate the senses of the Lord. So, Papa talks about the secret of giving up lust and what is the nature of mundane lust. So, let me pull out my notes again. So, we'll read from my notes. Text number 36. So, the scriptures generally caution against close association with the opposite sex as a means to advance on the path of spiritual progress. Thus, a doubt may arise. How can Lord Krishna, who had over 16,000 wives, be considered the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself? Prabhupada is raising this question up in the beginning. So, the transcendental nature of the Lord, Prabhupada answers, the queens of Krishna possess beauty capable of conquering even Cupid and agitate even the most tolerant Lord Shiva, yet Krishna remained unaffected. This demonstrates that the Lord's senses are never agitated by material attraction. He is Atmarama, fully satisfied. So if in case the Lord cannot be conquered or agitated by the material attraction, then how and why would Krishna get married? It's my question to all of you. I mean, I don't know if I should ask. Somebody gets married, he has to have some attraction for the other person, right? So you get married now. Now Krishna does not have any attraction for material attraction for any of these ladies. So then why did Krishna get married? What is the potential answer for it? And then we'll look into further. Yes, Neeraj, go ahead.
So, yo yathamam prapadante, because these ladies were desired to marry Lord Krishna, because of that Krishna married them.
Okay. What else? Anadi and Shuman Prabhu, to fulfill their desire to associate the Lord and Madhuras. Okay. What else? Anyone online? Why did Krishna got married to 16,108 queens? What would be? Yeah, Swanangi Vishakha. Correct. Attraction to their bhakti. Why did Krishna got married? Just like Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. What attracts Krishna? Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tamyena Mambapyantite. So Krishna gets attracted to the bhakti, and therefore he gets carried by or carried over by the bhakti of his devotees, and that's how Krishna takes to the different kinds of relationship. So ye yatamam prapadante, correct. Next level of answer is because of the devotion. So what is Krishna attracted to? The devotion of his devotees. That's the point. Going back to the notes again, please show on the slide. In the world, Cupid drives attraction between male and female, creating strong attachment and deep bondage. Manifesting as home, family, society, and possession. These are the main obstacles for seeking spiritual advancement. So the question asked was, if man and woman have to be careful, then how do we accept Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who himself got married to 16,000 wives? It was not because of any material attraction. He was attracted only to bhakti. He is completely transcendental. So that's not an obstacle. The last reciprocation of the queen is not an endorsement of material lust. Although their beauty grace could captivate anyone, Krishna is not moved by such allurement. So what attracts Krishna? satisfaction through service. The queens please Krishna not by their physical charms but by their devotional service and selfless love. Krishna reciprocated with them in the loving mood of a husband, but this relationship remains transcendental, not mundane. So, what is transcendental relationship? Krishna's dealing with his wife set an example that only unalloyed, selfless devotion can attract the Lord. This affection is spiritual, incomparable to mundane lust or attraction rooted in the modes of material nature. To conclude, Krishna, though acting as a human husband, always remained transcendental. Scriptural advice to avoid opposite sex association applies to conditioned souls to help them avoid unnecessary bondage. The last relationships are purifying and they are never binding. So these are the three important segments. So let me do one thing. I'll just complete this chapter. There are 3 verses. We'll go for a break. And before going after the break, I'll just introduce the little activity. So after the break, we'll come back and do that activity on these 3 verses, because they're deep philosophical points. So text number 37. Tammayam manyate loko hi asangam api sanginam atmaopam yena manujam atmaopam yena manujam Vyapranavaanam yato abudaha. This is exactly similar to avajananti maamudam manusham tanum ashrita parambhavam jananto mamabhuta maishwaraha. Tam ayam manyate loko. When I come to the loka of this world of humans, hai asangam api sanginam atmaupamyena manujam. So the common materialistic conditions so speculate that the Lord is one of them. Out of the ignorance they think that the Lord is affected by matter, although He is unattached. So how do we overcome this misunderstanding? We have to cultivate Shastra Chakshu. That's the point here, not through mental speculation. Text number 38. Again a very important verse. Etad ishanam ishasya prakritistopi tad gune na yujyate sadatmasthir Yata buddha tadashraya. So this verse says, not only the Lord is divine, even the devotees of the Lord do not get influenced by the modes of material nature. This is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. He is not affected by the qualities of material nature, even though he is in contact with them. Similarly, devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord do not become influenced by the material quality. So Prabhupada talks about this is the nature or quality of Mahabhagavad devotees. Although they are moving amongst the common man, but they are not contaminated by. How do we identify we are being contaminated by modes of material nature? If somebody asks a question, how do you see somebody is being contaminated by modes of material nature? What is the way to understand that? Being contaminated by modes of material nature is. Yes, Abba Govindpur, go ahead. Whatever.
He cannot distinguish between spirit and matter. No knowledge.
He cannot distinguish spirit and matter. Okay, what else? Attracted was
and what is material.
Influenced by the modes of material nature means reacting.
False ego.
False ego. Being influenced by the modes of material nature. Controller, enjoy proprietorship. Okay. Being away from Lord. So being influenced by the modes of material nature means caught up into the dualities of life. Caught up in the dualities of life. What are the dualities like? Sukha, dukha. You know, that Krishna says in 2nd chapter, Sukhe, dukhe, same, like that particular shlok goes on. So Prabhupada writes in the purport in the middle of the paragraph, such Mahabhagavas, the first grade devotees, although moving among men, they are not contaminated by honor or insult. Hunger or satisfaction, sleep or wakefulness, which are all resultant actions of the 3 modes of material nature. Similarly, some of them are engaged in worldly dealings yet are unaffected. Unless, I hope you are able to follow the purport, unless these neutralities of life are there, one cannot be considered situated in transcendence. This is the golden purport with the golden lines. So, not contaminated by honor or insult. Would anyone like to explain this in practical application? Such Mahabhagavata first grade devotees do not get contaminated or disturbed by honor or insult, hunger or satisfaction, sleep or wakefulness.
Krishna Prabhu.
Who is speaking?
Yes, Priya here, Prabhuji.
Yes, Priya, Mother Priya. Go ahead.
Prabhu, in contrast to what you were just saying, right, that the people who are under the influence of modes of material nature, they are always under the duality. But the people who are not, they don't, it does not matter to them whether they are hungry or not or how to sleep. Like for a pure devotee, a Vaishnava, they don't, it does not matter to them what time they sleep, but Mangalarti, they'll wake up. And sometimes we face chastisement from our seniors, but it should not impact our false ego.
Okay, let's come to only one point. Other will take we'll do that later on. Honor or insult? Free from honor and insult. What could be the practical application of free from honor and insult?
Yeah. So if we do any service, obviously we should not do it to get any acknowledgement or appraisal in front of any Sabha or something. It should be just a service to please the Guru and the Krishna. And at the same time, if we are doing any service, we may think that we are doing the best, but our seniors may have a lot of, sometimes we do something and our seniors would kindly come and guide us. No, this is how it can be done perfectly. So we should take it as a learning point, and because otherwise if we are under false ego, we may always think that I am doing the best.
That's okay.
And we may not
so
be
got
accepting,
the point.
maybe able to accept.
So point is, do not do it for honor, and when you're given a feedback, don't feel insulted. That's the point. Okay, what else? Application, honor or insult? Ram Prasad Prabhu. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. So honor means we feel better than others, which will turn around later, means we will go down, life is full of upside downs. When we are insulted, we think we are low graded than others, which is again out of balance. So that will cause us, stress.
So what is the practical application I'm asking? How can even we sadhaka at least try to follow this? We don't have control on our bodily demands and needs. How can we rise above honor or insult? I'm not asking what is honor or insult, how to rise above it.
So the honor and dishonor is a bodily level thing. We are spirit soul, not the body.
Okay, how do you practice?
We are not the body.
Okay, Gaudam Prabhu. Let's hear from Gaudam Prabhu, then Songi Vishaka. Yes, Gaudam Prabhu.
Follow under the instructions of seniors and whatever comes, pass.
Okay, follow the instruction. If you get some honor, pass it to the senior. Okay, fine. Mother Songi Vishaka.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, when we do some service wholeheartedly, we expect some appreciation from our seniors or other devotees. So instead of expecting that reward, that we get the appreciation, we should expect the appreciation from Krishna, like reward from Krishna, not from other devotees.
Okay, all good. I just want to make one point. So just like Srila Prabhupada, while trying to serve or follow the instruction of his Guru, how much he had to struggle. He did not get result for a long time. Similarly, while we are trying to render service, it may happen that we may not get result as expected for a good amount of time. Do not become hopeless. That's the point. One of the point. In our practice, we can do that. Because the moment we do, we may say, no, result is not for me, result is Guru Krishna, but I want result, not for me, for Guru and Krishna. Give me result now only. Not for me, for Guru and Krishna. If I go for book distribution, 10 books have to be distributed, not for me, only for Guru and Krishna. If not distributed, I'll not go again. This kind of mindset. So people fail to accept that they may not get success as expected all the time. And Srila Prabhupada did that. We went on to struggle for such a long time. So that's the idea of rising over the duality. I have been told to serve, I'll serve. Karmanevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. That point we can take it in practice, because as all of us as a preacher, sometimes we may get success in our preaching program, sometimes we may not get success in our preaching program, but we should continue the good work. Of course, we should try to think how we can improve hear the feedback properly and try to implement so we can improve our preaching strategy and whatnot, but not to become discouraged. That's the point. Rising above honor and insult. Okay, and what all you said was also correct. Text number 39, the last verse. Tam menere abala muda strainam chano vratam raha apramana vido bhartur ishwaram matayo yatha. The simple and delicate woman truly thought that Krishna, as the beloved husband, followed them and was dominated by them. They were unaware of the extent of the glories of the husband, as the atheists are unaware of him as a supreme controller. So Prabhupada talks about Yogamaya versus Mahamaya. So all these ladies, they were treating their Lord Krishna as their husband, thought of Krishna to be just as their husband. They were covered over by the Shakti of the Lord, so for the sake of pastimes. So that's the whole aspect of it. Okay, so this is the subject matter of Lord Shri Krishna entering Dwarka and his reciprocation with his mother and then with his queens, and some of the aspect about the glories of the Lord. Before we get into the break, I just want to bring you to the exercise. Let me just see where are my notes. So all of you are able to see? So we're gonna make it into 6 groups. So how many devotees do we have? Everyone willing to take part? So we have 34, which means minus 2, 32. 32 plus 5 devotees here. We have around 37 devotees, which means we can create a 6 group of 6 members. 5 here and rest 5 online. And the exercises would be as follows. So, let's take a look at it. 11.34, leadership crisis. False proprietorship. A community leader accumulates power and wealth, neglecting spiritual duties, thus creating unrest. Question: how does this reflect the burden of the earth as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 34th verse? What is Krishna's solution according to this verse? How we can prevent leadership from getting into leadership crisis? That's the question. Okay, that's for the group 1. Next, transcendental relationship. That was the verse number 35. A devotee is questioned about Krishna's many marriages. How would you explain the transcendental nature of Krishna's relationship as described in 1.35, 11.35 and also 36 you can refer to a skeptic. And third, to a skeptic, I have said it intentionally, not to a devotee. Skeptic means you have to be logical in your presentation. You can't say because Bhagavatam says, Prabhupada says. It has to be logical. Of course, you should have that and plus logical presentation. Third question, someone equates spiritual love, so about enjoyment. Someone equates spiritual love with romantic love. How does 36 verse distinguish between spiritual and material affection? So what we're going to give, I'm going to give you a good amount of time. You have to read the purport in your group. I'll give you a synopsis. And there are some very important points which I mentioned. So you have to go on, each of the group has to go for the purport. Now, other 3 groups are going to discuss on a particular statement from the purport. Purport writes, material power inevitably leads to downfall. So 34th verse, you have to read the purport. Rooted in 34th purport analysis of materialistic administrators becoming burdens and ultimately being removed by the Lord's arrangement. So you have to explain and support this argument that given by Prabhupada. How material power inevitably leads to downfall. Next, eternal happiness is attainable only through spiritual relationships. So you have to prove this. Based on 35th verse, we have to emphasize the temporary nature of mundane relationship and eternal joy of associating with Krishna. The eternal happiness is attainable only through spiritual relationship, not through mundane activities. And the 6th, Krishna's household pastime signifies supreme perfection, not ordinary engagement or enjoyment, husband-wife relationship. So how Lord's dealings are transcendental and his wives are perfected devotees is what we need to explain. And once you are done with this, you can do this exercise. So this is match the following. because this was a little tricky subject, so I thought, why don't we create that? So this is the table, ownership and enjoyment. So I have given you pointers here. So you have to pick the point and put it in the right box. This is what you have to do. So ये आपका अच्छा खासा break time, study time में निकलने वाला है. Is that okay? How is the exercise? Are you all ready for it? Hare Krishna. So we
knowing fully well who he is and how he got the powers to kind of, rule the world, he went, overboard, and we saw, what happened to him. So, and there is again the case of Mahabali, etc. So right through the yugas, we have seen that people just took law into their hands and then did whatever they want. And ultimately, the supreme power had to descend and had to do whatever he had to do. And in Ishopanishad, we see that Ishavasyam, that everything is, the Krishna's solution is ultimately you have to surrender to him. Nothing belongs to the Lord. He has allowed us to, he has brought us to this world to ensure that we go back home, back to Godhead, and surrender ourselves to the supreme will. And ultimately, he is expecting that from us. He's not really expecting us to do whatever we are doing. And then we see whatever we are seeing in the world today. The history is getting repeated, but we are forgetting our eternal association with the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Yeah, so with time is up. Thank you for that. So I can just add, yeah, so just to add a point here, thank you for that presentation. What is Krishna's solution according to the verse? Burden of the earth. So in this purport only, the point about that how even the Yadu Vamsha, Krishna allowed his own Vamsha to become, to get into this kind of intoxication state and fight with each other and kill each other. In other words, if somebody who's not, somebody becomes extremely very powerful or somebody becomes independent, they cannot be a competitor for God. That's it, period. If somebody thinks he can become very powerful, very independent, whatnot, even as Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, everything, then at the end of the day, Lord either will himself come or will create animosity between them and with somebody else and lead to destruction. So Krishna's solution, as you were saying, Bhakti, take to the Bhakti. This material world is not a place for permanent residence. It's a place for reformation. So do not become a burden here. Fix yourself and go back home, back to Godhead. So that's more or less precisely over here. So thank you for group 1 for spending time and thinking about it. I hope it was a good exercise. Let's go to the group number 2. Group number 2, who is speaking for group number 2? And I'll start the timer this time, 1 minute 30 seconds. So organize.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah. Say your name and your time starts now, 1 minute 30 seconds.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my name is Valar. I'm representing the group 2. The gist or the summary of this clause is Krishna's many marriages it's not mundane, it's transcendental. It is showcasing, is an expression of his infinite love to each living beings. So the soul, the marriage or the wives that are mentioned are basically the relationship between Krishna, the Lord, and all the living beings. Okay, so it is not supposed to be taken as a superficial judgment, but it has to be seen from the spiritual perspective. We have like 5 points from there. So we were reading about how he is married to 16,108 wives. We say that it's not mundane because he appears simultaneously in all the palaces. He only can be a very transcendental, supreme person to do that. Number 2, the wives themselves are not ordinary because they would have done millions of tapasya. So this is relating to the concept of Leela or the divine play, where, it shows the relationship of Krishna with, the souls. Yeah. And engaging the souls in a different time and space. And how Krishna nurtures, guides, and engages each individual souls. The third point is a lot pastime in the world is to attract different souls, and there are many rasas. And here it's shown the vice. So vice are more of the Madhurya rasas. Here we have to understand Krishna is Swayam Prakasha. He is self-manifestation, and the many relationships there is not physical attraction, okay? It's not sexual, okay? It's more of a transcendental relationship with Lord. So we cannot have misconception of human-like motives. Okay, last point is the relationship here, it's not temporary, it's eternal.
That's the last point.
Okay. Yeah, and the relation show with the vice and Krishna, so that can be achieved with the bhakti or devotion. That's what we discuss also. And the happiness is eternal, not temporary.
Thank you. Wonderful. Please share your notes, Shah. These are wonderful reflections that you had from the puppet and a very commonly asked question. Thank you for the second group. Let's go to group number 3. Pure devotion versus mundane affection. Someone equates spiritual love with romantic love. Who is speaking for group number 3?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Priya here.
Yeah, go ahead.
In our group, we had Mathuranandan Prabhu, Anadi Anishman Prabhu, Raman Gopal, Shivani Mataji, and Shamika Mataji. So basically, we want to show that how pure devotion is different from the mundane or the material affection. So there is like why, what, and how. So why this material love happen, that is for self-satisfaction and for sense gratification. But at the same time, the spiritual love happens because somebody wants to serve the Lord. And what's the nature of it? So the nature of spiritual love is transcendental. At the same time, material love is conditioned by the 3 modes of material nature. And what is the difference between what does it leads to? So the spiritual love obviously leads us to the liberation, the path of salvation for going back to the Godhead. At the same time, the material love leads to the bondage of the material world. And how does it happen? So spiritual love happens by the association of the pure devotees. At the same time, the material love happens by association of 3 modes of material nature. And there are two references given in the purport. One is, as Mataji was also mentioning, that Krishna married 16,108 gopis not as part of the material attraction or feminine attractiveness, but by getting satisfied by their sincere affection and service as a reciprocation to them. But at the same time, the material love, it leads to so many things like bodily offspring, society, friendship, wealth, and whatnot, which only lead to misery and bondage into the material world. And also there is an example given in by the Prabhupada that how Cupid, Lord Shiva, though he's a prominent demigod and is the most tolerant, he got struck by Cupid's arrow and got attracted by Mohini, which is the example of the material or the mundane love. But at the same time, when Cupid tried to do the same with the goddess of fortune and Krishna, he himself was captivated by the exciting dealings of the goddess of fortune, and he actually gave up his bow and arrow by the beauty and attraction of the queens of Krishna. So nobody can disturb the transcendental senses of the Lord, which are spiritual in nature. At the same time, the material love, the material senses are very fragile and can easily be kind of broken down at any point of time.
Thank you so much. So is spiritual material affection, like that, is transcendental, is pure in nature. It is not conditioning, it's not contaminating, it's not binding, it's uplifting, and is because of its spiritual nature is ever growing, ever satisfying. No frustration, no kind of troubles here. Thank you for that. Let's go to the group 4. Who is presenting group 4? Material power inevitably leads to downfall. Yes, please say your name.
Sir.
Who are the group members? And please start.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'm Induratika Devi Dasi, and my group here Anuradha Mulle Mataji, Ramapriya Madhav Prabhu, and Adha Vallabhi Mataji. Our topic is actually material power inevitably leads to downfall. So in 1:11:34, we are seeing that Lord saw that the Yadus were puffed up and becoming a burden to the earth. So in order to elevate them, he created hostility between them, and they fought among themselves, and thus they ended their regime. So we can see that individuals are not factual enjoyers. The Lord is actually the genuine proprietor. But by the influence of the three modes of material nature, we think that we are the proprietor, enjoyer, and controller. We all are actually feel that in our own sphere of life, like when we are in a family or when we have servants below us or in our workplace or in case of a leader, in case of the population, they all feel they are the controllers. This actually leads to dharmasya glana, that is misuse of human energy. We are influenced by the intoxication of power, and this actually creates a disturbance in human existence. When this becomes prominent, the others are troubled by it. So Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.7, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So he says that whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, he descends actually. But we're seeing that the Lord need not descend every time, but he tries to rectify the situation. He creates, by creating a situation of hostility between unwanted administrators. So we are also seeing forest fires, floods, droughts, etc. These are the ways in which the Lord eliminates the unwanted population. They fight among themselves and over ideological matters. So we are also seeing that there is this world war-like situation, world wars we have seen, and now also we are having such a situation. The main reason for this is that all the leaders want to control themselves. So actually, we are finding it difficult to live in this material world, but we are able to manage now because there are a few devotees of the Lord, and they are trying to actually balance the whole world. So then, how do we get over this mentality of controller, enjoyer, and proprietorship? So Lord Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Ma. Mame eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. So he says that this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. But those who are surrendered to me can easily cross beyond it. So, so what we can do now is we should realize that no one can establish peace and prosperity in the material world by fruitive activities. We have to surrender to the Lord and become free of illusion of the three modes of material nature. Our human life is actually meant for establishing the lost relationship with the Lord.
Thank you. I have to make sure of the times. It was a perfect presentation. The material power inevitably leads to downfall. You considered a lot of examples, and we had some philosophical points also for that. Perfect. Let's go to the fifth group. Eternal happiness is attainable only through spiritual relationships. Of course, this exercise could have been more wonderful if I could have had time for question answers. But at least, we're getting time for the presentation for you to think over. But fine. Eternal happiness is attainable only through spiritual relationships. Fifth group, who's presenting? Please go ahead.
Okay, I go, Prabhuji. Niladri here.
Yeah. Your team members?
Yes. So Hare Krishna, everyone. So we have a team member, Ramprasad Prabhuji, Jatila ji, and two other members. Actually, I forgot their name, but these are two others, also devotees. Yeah, sorry for that. So we have discussed this topic today, and regarding eternal happiness is attainable only through a spiritual relationship. So here we have, first of all, we discussed that the eternal relationship which we're talking about, it is actually can be only achieved by unalloyed devotional service only. That is the key thing we have discussed. And first of all, we started with the nature of human aspiration to start with. And we discussed that individuals always they aspire for happiness in a temporary world. This world is temporary, but we aspire for eternal happiness, right? So then we also talked about temporary nature of a mundane relationship. Whatever the relationship which we are having in the material world, those are the mundane relationship as per the purport. And it always lead to any kind of disappointment only in this material world. Okay, and these are actually like it will lead to it could be time, death, and material pleasures, right? Then, as per the purport, so also we have discussed that Krishna's divine example. So we in this purport we have seen whatever the activities Krishna involved, that is in a superhuman act, like he marries 16,108 wives, but it is a unique superhuman act. It is actually only for liberated souls, not like us, right? And his wives are also perfect soul. It's not an ordinary human beings. So they're super competent, and this his actions always attract people towards spiritual path only, right? So that is what we have. So divine example we have understood, and now the next point was the transcendental nature of the spiritual relationship. So whatever the relationship we have with Krishna, that is the eternal relationship, and it is can be found only through the devotion. That's a bhakti, right? And it is also not temporary, and also it can provide you eternal and increasing joy. So this is the relationships are based on Krishna's spiritual energy, but not the material elements.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Just a quick comment. When next time all of you work on this similar kind of exercise, the idea is drawing principles from Prabhupada's purport and then adding on to your perspective, like, eternal happiness is attainable only through spiritual relationship. So now this has become like a kind of a repetitive point. Only bhakti is the solution, only bhakti is the solution, which is heard and understood. Transcending the modes of material nature, heard and understood. But what is a practical way of looking at it? Eternal happiness is attainable only through spiritual relationship. So we can talk about the nature of material relationship. There is exploitative, you scratch my back and the history speak for itself, no relationship had been satisfactory. Like that, some of those points can also be brought in so that, we are able to both the sides of it. But nonetheless, thank you for that presentation. Now the last sixth group. Krishna's household pastime signifies supreme perfection, not ordinary enjoyment. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. So we are from the sixth group, myself Neeraj. So we discussed 5 points regarding this, that Krishna's household life was that supreme perfection, not ordinary enjoyment. First was let Lord expand himself on 6,108 form. So it is not something which a ordinary people can do, because a perfect yogi can maximum do 8 expansion of himself. So, and second thing we discussed that मनुष्यानां सहस्रेषु कश्चित् भवति सिद्धता. So out of thousand of one out of thousand will get attraction towards that spiritual life, and out of one, like thousand of people that get to like Vasudev Sarvamiti Samatma Sudurlabha. That means a ordinary people can't get attracted towards that supreme personality of Lord Krishna. So how that vibes of Krishna can be an ordinary people? So they are like they did the many menials of life.
Those are details.
Austerity.
Yeah. Next point.
Next is like he was having the Satchidanand form when he took birth. He was having the 400 form, and he also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita Janam Karma Cha Me Divyamev. So he can't be attracted towards the material things.
Okay.
And 4 point was like his senses not attracted towards the bodily feature of his wives. It is the bhakti, unalloyed service towards the Lord. He was get attracted, and he comes here to attract the conditioned souls. And last point was that Lord is Atma Ram. He can't be attracted to, like he's already all satisfied himself only. It is like internal expansion of himself. Mame Vansu Jivaloke. So that's why like Lord, whatever he did, like it's not an ordinary enjoyment. It's like pure transcendental and unalloyed, like unaffected by 3 material modes of nature.
Haribol. Thank you. Give a big round of applause for all of yourself. So let's get into the next chapter. Before I get into the next chapter, a quick question. How many of you did not take a break because you're busy solving the exercise? How many of you did not take a break? So that was a good exercise for the break time. So you get to study and think. Is it kind of helpful to a little bit introspect? Otherwise, these purports, you can really bounce off from these purports. So each chapter I'll try to pick one set, not many. Anyways, let's move forward quickly. We're running short of time now. So let's move forward to Canto 1, Chapter 12. Let's take a look at quick overview. So now the chapter is titled Birth of Parikshit. The first 3 questions are inquiries about Parikshit. Here, Shaunakadi Rishi is going to remind Suta Goswami, sir, thank you for all the Krishna Katha, but we asked you about Parikshit's birth. Seems like you're so busy telling us about Krishna left Hastinapur, now Krishna entered Dwarka. Can you please come back to the original topic? So that will be discussed. And then Sudha Goswami, being reminded of those questions, he'll begin to speak, and then he'll begin to speak about Yudhishthira Maharaj's exemplary rule and how Krishna protected Parikshit in the womb. The story will begin from that point of time. And he becoming the king. So let's go back to the verses. Let's take a look. Hare Krishna. Okay, chapter number 12, text number 1. Shaunaka Vacha. Shaunaka Vacha. Ashwathama Upashtrena. Brahma Shishna Urutejasa. Uttaraya Hato Garbha. ईष्णा अजीवितः पुनः तो Upashrena, by release of Brahmastra by Ashwathama, Brahma Shisha, the invisible weapon of Brahma, Uru Tejasa, by high temperature, Uttaraya Hatogarbha, that Brahmastra disturbed the progeny of Uttara, and then Ishana Ajivitaha Punha, and Lord brought that embryo back to life again. So, how did this all happen? Please go back to the story of Parikshit Maharaj and tell us. Text number 2. Tasya janma mahabuddhe karmani cha mahatmanaha nidanam cha yatevasit sapritya gatavan yatha. Of his Janma Mahabuddhi, please tell us about the birth of Parikshit Maharaj, who was of great intelligence. Karmani Cha Mahatmana, he was a great personality. What were his activities? Nidanam, how did he die? Cha Yathaiva Asit. Sa Pretya Gatavan Yatha, and that's the most important question. Sa Pretya Gatavan Yatha, and after dying, what destination did he attain? Please tell us about his birth, his activities, his death, and what did he attain after death. So, why they are so eager to hear about Parikshit Maharaj? What is so special about Parikshit Maharaj's birth, activities, death? Because it was all unique. His birth, Krishna appeared to protect him. At death, Srimad Bhagavatam appeared to protect him. That's the reason. Text number 3. Tadidam shrotam ichhamo. So, those of you who want to memorize Srimad Bhagavatam shlokas, make a practice to recite shlokas when we are reciting. If you become absent-minded at this point of time, you will have a difficulty in memorizing shloka. Otherwise, I can just go with English. So please get used to it. It's good. It's good to recite. Tadidam shrotam ichhamo gaditam yadi manyase bruhina shaddadhananam yasya jnanam madashukaha. Tadidam, all this, Shrotam Ichhamo, we are very eager to hear about all this. Gaditam yadi manyase, Gaditam, if you are pleased, you may please tell us what we have inquired from you. Bruhina Shadadhananam, Yasya Jnanam Adashukaha. So, whatever you have heard from Srila Sukadeva Goswami, Yosutta Goswami about this subject matter, please narrate to us. So, we respectfully want to hear about him to whom Sukadeva Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter. Okay, not Sutta what you have heard, what Parikshit heard from Sukadeva Goswami. We want to hear about it. Very, very beautiful puppet. This is about success comes by sincere hearing. Parikshit's life is a testimony of how he became successful just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's the whole substance of this puppet. Purpose says, Parikshit's life became successful by hearing. Rukmani's life became successful by hearing from Narad Muni about the Lord. And like that, there are many, many examples. No endeavor, nothing. Just by becoming sincere in hearing about the Lord, we can attain the highest perfection of life. Text number 4. Sutavacha Apipala Dharma Rajaha Pitravadranjayan Prajaha Nispraha Sarva Kamebhyaha Krishna Padanu Sevaya. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was engaged in rendering devotional service. Krishna Padanu Sevaya. So Sutta Goswami said, Yudhishthira Maharaj administered Dharmaraja. Dharmaraja is Yudhishthira Maharaj. Apipalad. Apipalad means administer prosperity. He was magnanimous. He distributed his wealth to everyone equally according to the defined policies. He was generous. That's the point. He was exactly like Pitravat, Ranjan Prajaha. Towards his Praja, he was like father. Nisprah Sarvakamebhya. Nispraha. He had no personal ambition. Sarvakamebhya. He was freed from all sorts of sense gratification. Why? Krishna Padanu Sevaya. Because he was happily engaged in rendering devotional service to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality Godhead. So these are some of the aspects of a leadership. Leadership should be neutral, leadership should be kind, magnanimous, should be sense-controlled, and nispraha, should not have personal agenda. If you are in this situation, then you can render service to your community nicely. That's a point about leadership. Text number 5. Sampada kritavo loka Mahishi bhrataro mahi Jambudvipadipathyam cha Yashascha tridivam gatam. So, sampada kritavo loka, sampati. So, opulence, kritavaha, kriti means sacrifice, lokaha, future destiny. Mahishi, bhrataro, mahi. Mahishi means queens, bhrataro means brothers, mahi means the earth. Jambudvip, Adipatyam cha. He had a control over the whole Jambudvip. Yashascha tri divam gataha. And his fame was spread across three divam gatam, all the three planetary systems. News even reached the celestial planets about Maharaj Yudhishthira's worldly possessions, sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination. His queen, his stalwart brothers, all were exemplary. That's the point. His sovereignty over the planet Earth and his fame, etc. So Papa talks about different planets and how to reach them. Papa said, one must qualify himself to enter into such happy planets by sacrifice and service. So if you pay attention here, Sampadaha Kratavo Loka, opulence. Kratava means sacrifice. He regularly engaged in performing different types of sacrifices. Without sacrifice, we cannot attain anything. Yudhishthira Maharaj, despite being Jambudvipa Adipatyam, he had no contender, no competitor. What is the need for sacrifice now? People will perform sacrifice considering that they become strong to fight. He has nothing to defend against. There's no enemy. But again, Krishna talks about the system of sacrifice, so he would follow that. Text number 6. Kim te kama suras praha Mukunda manaso dvijaha Adhi jaharor madam ragyam Shuditasya yathetare. So what kind of facilities he had? Kimte kama suras spraha. He had the best of the facilities available to enjoy. Kama, heavenly pleasures he could enjoy on the earthly planet. Yet Mukunda manaso dvijaha. Yet his mind was always absorbed in serving, rendering devotion service. O Brahmana, the opulence of the king was so enchanting that the denizens of heaven aspired for it, but because he was absorbed in the service of the Lord, nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service. Nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service. So it's a very important point I often highlight, but sometimes it takes a time for people to digest or maybe to understand the importance of delegation. Just like Janmashtami is coming, it's such a brilliant opportunity we have to engage people in the service. We need to learn about organization, we need to learn about planning, we need to have some organizing and planning skills. If we can organize and bring in people to help and to assist in celebrating Janmashtami, they'll get the experience of the taste of rendering devotional service. How much ever amount of your preaching will not make a difference if they can somehow come and take part in rendering devotional service on special days like Janmashtami. So we had Jayanant Prabhu, his Jayanant Prabhu, he celebrated even up to today. Just for what did he do? He made so many devotees. Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhu, his own is Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, and many others celebrated devotees just by building Rath. He would always remain absorbed in rendering service, and he was so adept or quick in engaging people. He would see somebody walking on the street, he'd say, "Oh, can you help me with just putting the nail on the cart?" And they'll come and they'll engage, and that's how they'll become devotees. So please take advantage. We have a great opportunity. Janmashtami is right on the corner. Talk to your family members, engage them in doing some charity. What people going to do with their wealth? Spend on lawyers and doctors, that's all. Engage them. Don't become shy. We just talked about overcoming the dualities of life. Don't worry about honor and insult. We have to be a little bit shameless when it comes to rendering devotional service. Call up your family members, call up your parents, call up your relatives, tell them, do some service on the occasion of Janmashtami, do some charity, do some anadan, something which they can do. We have to rack up our brain to engage people in rendering devotional service. and unless they do that, take part in service, how would they get the taste of service? Here, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was so happy in rendering devotion service, he just didn't bother about all the heavenly pleasures that he had, which even the denizens of heaven aspired. He was not at all worried about it. Text number 6, brilliant purport. I just give you some highlights of it. Papa speaks about spiritually hungry. Second paragraph. Somebody would like to read online? The whole material world. Madan Radhika, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The whole material world is full of hungry living beings. The hunger is not for good food, shelter, or sense gratification. The hunger is for the spiritual atmosphere. Due to ignorance only, they think that the world is dissatisfied because there is not sufficient food, shelter, defense, and objects of sense gratification. This is called illusion. When the living being is hungry for spiritual satisfaction, he is misled by material hunger. But the foolish leaders cannot see that even people who are most sumptuously materially satisfied are still hungry. And what is their hunger and poverty? This hunger is actually for spiritual food, spiritual shelter, spiritual defense, and spiritual sense gratification. These can be obtained in the association of the Supreme Spirit, Lord Sri Krishna, and therefore one who has them cannot be attracted by the so-called food, shelter, defense, and sense gratification of the material world, even if they are relished by the denizens of the heavenly planets. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita,
Go 4 lines below. Such hunger can be satisfied.
hunger can be satisfied only when the living being is situated in immortality, which is attained in the spiritual sky, far, far above the Brahmaloka, in the association of Lord Mukunda, the Lord who awards his devotees the transcendental pleasure of liberation.
So, this is how we can overcome our spiritual hunger. A beautiful purport. So, everyone is hungry, not hungry for food, but they're hungry for love. They're spiritually hungry. Text number 7. From 7 to 11, now after describing about the rule of Yudhishthira Maharaj, Sukdev Goswami or Sutta Goswami speak about how Lord protected Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. Matu garbha gato viraha Satada Bhragunandana Dadarsha Purusham Kanchit Dayyamanostrate Jasa. O son of Bhragu, O Shaunakaha, when the child Parikshit, the great fighter, Gato Viraha, was in the womb, Matur Garbha, Uttara, and was suffering from the burning heat of the Brahmastra, Satada Bhragunandana, Dadasha, Purusham Kanchi, Dadasha, he saw, could see, he could observe the Supreme Personality coming to him to save him from that heating sensation. Text number 8. So now Parikshit Maharaj in the womb saw Lord. What did he see? Angushtamatram amalam. He saw the form of the Lord, which was of the height of the dimension of the thumb. Spurat puratamalinam. He was effulgent, he was glowing, he was wearing a golden helmet. Apivyadashanam shamam. Very beautiful, and his complexion was shamam complexion. Tadit vasasamachutam. And he was glowing, he was effulgent. He, the Lord, was only thumb high, but he was all transcendental. He had a very beautiful blackish infallible body, and he wore a dress of lightning yellow and a helmet of blazing gold. Thus he was seen by the child. Text number 9. What was the Lord doing? Srimad Dirgha Chaturbahum Tapta Kanchana Kundalam Shatajaksham Gadapanim Atmana Sarvato Disham Paribhramantam Ulkabham Brahmayantam Gadamuhu. So Lord, Srimad Dirgha Chaturbaham Tapta Kanchana Kundalam. So he had 4 hands. The Lord was encircled with 4 hands. He was wearing earrings of molten gold and eyes blood red with fury. As he loitered about, his club constantly encircled him like a shooting star. So what was Lord trying to do? He was trying to overcome of the radiation of the Brahmastra. So like this, the Lord appeared to the Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. So Lord appears in 5 forms: Paraha, Vaibhavaha, Vyuha, Antaryami, and Archa Vigraha. Para is the original form, Vaibhav is the Leela Prakash form, Vyuha is Chaturvyuha form, Antaryami as Paramatma, and Archa Vigraha. So here Lord has appeared in within the womb of Uttara, like that. Text number 10. What did Lord do? What was Lord doing at that point in time? Astra Teja Swagadaya Niharamiva Gopatihi Vidamantam Shanikarshi Paryakshata Ka Iti Aso. Mother Jatila, translation please, text number 10.
The Lord was thus engaged in vanquishing the radiation of the astra, just as the sun evaporates a drop of dew. He was absorbed by the child who thought about who he was. Hare Krishna.
So Lord
Hare
was
Krishna.
busy removing the radiation, and then after doing that, Lord disappeared. Text number 11. Viduya tad ame atma Bhagavan dharma gub vibhu Mishato dasham ashasya Tatraivanam dade hari. Mother Shamankata, Shamakanta. Mother, please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. While thus being observed by the child, the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, of everyone, and the protector of the righteous, who structures in all direction and who is unlimited by the time and space, disappeared at once.
It's a beautiful purport here. Purport is talking about Jiva and the Lord is different. Jiva can never become Lord. Here is some of the qualities of the Lord being described. And Lord is omniscient, ever present, like that. Text number 12. So now the auspicious moment for Parikshit birth has come. Parikshit has been saved and protected. Text number 12. Tataha sarva gunodar ke. So 12th, 13th, and 14th are important verses. We would not have time to do exercise. I'll introduce the concept. We'll do it next time. Or maybe I can give you as a homework. We'll see that, how it goes. 3 important concepts are discussed here. Tata sarva gunodar ke Shanukula grahodaye Jagyavamshadhara Pandu Bhuya Panduryavaujasa. Anadi Anshuman Prabhu, translation.
Yes, thereupon, when all the good signs of the zodiac gradually evolved, the heir apparent of Pandu, who would be exactly like him in prowess, took birth.
About astrology. So I don't have a time to read it now, but we'll do something. Let's go through the next 3 verses, then we'll take a look at it. I'll give you the synopsis, and maybe why don't I give you some homework exercise on that. Let's go to text number 13. So this verse says about when all the good signs of Zodiac gradually evolved, the son of or the descendant of Pandu appeared. Who appeared? Parikshit Maharaj. Which means at the time of a birth of a child, there is a particular positions of the star, which based on the constellation type of a constellation which is prevalent, it foretells what the child gonna be. So Janam Patri jo kaha jata hai is a very very vital part, important part of astrology. Just like at the time of Krishna's appearance, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, or Lord Ram's appearance, the exact zodiac signs or constellations are clearly mentioned. क्या थे उसी प्रकार से at the time of Parikshit, again similar kind of constellations were there, which means a very great personality is taking birth at this point of time. I don't know, but I remember at one point in time, this is just a side topic. I'm not saying I have any Shastric evidence, but I'm just making a point. You may or may disregard it. It's up to you. I remember I was somewhere around in maybe first grade or younger than that. Some things of the childhood memory stays with you. So I was probably in a first grade or maybe younger than that. I was on the roof. This is a place called as Kannauj in Uttar Pradesh, a historical place. I was on the terrace of our house, and there was this shooting stars. I've never seen so many shooting stars back to back. You look here, there is a shooting star. Then you look here, there is a shooting star. And I asked my mother, I said, Mother, what's going on? So my mother said something very interesting. He said, shooting star means, what was she said? No, not shooting star is not of a great personality. Shooting star, the star has been destroyed. Some disastrous personality is about to take birth, something like that. So it's not a good omen. It's a bad omen, and there were plenty of that. So just a half an hour later of that incident which was happening, there was a news. It was like a town in those years. You can immediately get it. There was a huge sound of cry or grief started coming from few lanes across. We were on one of the highest building. It was a 3-story building. In those days, they were not used to be much 3-story building. And then we got to know one very great saintly person who had many, many great followers and disciples, great Ram Bhakta. He passed away. So my mother said, this is a sign something inauspicious about to happen, the shooting stars. So these are omens, the signs of omen. So the 64 arts, which you know of, which Krishna was taught, and in that 64 art, there was one art called as omen. Looking at the nature, understanding what's going to happen. So these are all facts. His Holiness Bhakti Raghav Maharaj, his disciple from South, have written a short book on that omens. He has included all those signs. So this is one thing, astrology. So what happened now, astrology doesn't function much. The only reason is because parents force their child to be born on particular tithi, particular time, or they don't have natural pregnancy. They have cesarean, they call it, I believe, right? Like that. So the time of birth matters a lot for astrology if it is properly and naturally done. So, and according to the position of the stars, astronomical situation, it dictates and tells what kind of karmic reactions you're going to get into your life. That's about astrology. And it's such a fantastic science. You get to know exactly. Just another example from about Duryodhana. Before Duryodhana was born, Vidurji went and told Dhritarashtra, get rid of this, the sons, even before taking birth, I can see so many bad omens. The donkeys are braying, so many different bad omens are there. I'm pretty sure if these sons are born, those are test tube babies. If these sons are born, they're going to cause destruction to your dynasty. And he didn't hear to that. And Vidura said, okay, you keep 99, just get rid of the eldest one son. Dhritarashtra didn't hear. So it's an interesting way of looking at the nature. You can understand certain things. All right, that's about astrology. That's the first purport. Purport focuses. I'll give you some exercise on that. Now, next, text number 13. What happens after child is born? First is astrological chart and second is Jatakam. कहते हैं purificatory samskaras are done. तस्य पितामना राजा विप्रे धौम्य कृपादिभिः जातकं कारयामासा Vachitva cha mangalam. King Yudhishthir. Okay. Vidyapati Prabhu, please read translation.
King Yudhishthir, who was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth performed. Learned Brahmanas, aided by Dhamya and Kripa, recited auspicious.
So this purport is dedicated to the science of samskaras. So please write down for yourself. These are golden purports. A lot of information. We'll try to churn some of it next week when we get a chance, or else we can have some group work during the week among all of you. Maybe we can make that. Why do we have to have group work? We can make a group. All of you are on the WhatsApp. Get connected and discuss. Find out some half an hour, 45 minutes during the week. Discuss and do that. So it's about samskara, like that. Let's go to text number 14. Last verse for today. Hiranyam gamahim graman Hasti ashvanaptirvarnan Pradasvanam cha viprebhya Prajatite satitave. Mother Shivani, translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation. Upon the birth of a son, the king, who knew where and when charity should be given, gave gold, land, villages, elephants,
horses and good food grains to the Brahmanas.
And this is another classic purport about science of charity. So, science of astrology, science of samskara, science of charity. And now I'll give you three quick synopses of this purports through my notes. Where are my notes? And let's check. So let's begin with science of astrology. All of you able to see? Yeah. Okay. Legitimacy of astrology. Astrological influences are real and scientifically recognized in Srimad Bhagavatam. They are not superstition. Point number one. Laws of material nature. Every living being is constantly governed by nature's subtle laws, just as the citizens are controlled by state laws. Karma and destiny. Every action creates a reaction, with destiny shaped by our actions, deeds. Only those who act in service to Vishnu or Yajna are free from karmic reaction. Yajna arthat karmano anyata. So, how to get free from karmic reactions? Work for Krishna. What is the role of stellar influences? The constellations at the time of birth influences, and destiny is assigned to a soul as predetermined by higher authorities. So, at the time of the child's birth, based on the constellation, karmic reactions are assigned to that person or tagged to that person. That is called a prarabdha karma. A horoscope prepared by a qualified astrologer reflects one's karmic blueprint and is a valid science. It's a karmic blueprint. What all going to happen to you? So it's a blueprint. It doesn't give you the detail. Now while on the journey, just like you go to Google Map, you type Pune to Bombay. It gives you a high level idea. This is the road it looks like. Now what you do, you may take some detour, you may do this and that. So you have your free will. Free will is still yours, but this is how it's going to look like. This is a birth, this is death, this is a fixed time. This is going to be some important times in your life where you will have a lot of challenges. You will be reaping the results of your sinful reaction, and certain times in your life where you will be reaping the results of your pious actions. So Sukha Dukkha both is defined like that. Significance of auspicious moments. Spiritually significant personalities like Parikshit and the Supreme Lord, they take birth only at the most auspicious planetary configurations. It's pretty interesting at the time of the birth of these. In fact, at the time of birth of the Lord, all nakshatra, everything. Like for example, Krishna, if you read the Krishna book, when Krishna appeared, nakshatra, everything aligned perfectly. Everything was in a perfect order. And that's the time Lord Krishna appeared. Divine arrangements. The arrangements of auspicious stars is not random or man-made. It is managed by the Supreme Lord. So here we should not try to artificially, decide the child's birth, which day or time like that. We are playing with nature's laws. What are role of samskaras? Population, quality, fine. This is okay. This is about the 12th. Then the 13th verse was about our samskaras. So, need for qualified brahmanas. Society requires a good, intelligent class of brahmanas, expert in performing Vedic samskaras. In Kali Yuga, we don't have much qualified brahmanas, so there is an alternative, what is called as Pancharatrika system. This is recommended. There is a Bhagavad Vidhi and there is a Pancharatrika Vidhi. This allows for spiritual purification regardless of birth or caste. That's a major difference. It is not stringent. Pancharatrika means anyone can be qualified to perform the task of a Brahmana regardless of his birth. It is specially meant for spiritual upliftment of people otherwise unqualified by birth. This is called as Narada Pancharatra, Pancharatrika Vidhi. What is the purpose of samskaras? Vidhi samskaras during pregnancy and after birth. During pregnancy or before pregnancy, Garbhadhan, then all different kind of the samskaras are not meant as rituals or social customs. Aaj actually social custom ban gaye hain, but are actually practical measures for spiritual and character development if executed by expert brahmanas. And there is examples of Maharaj Yudhishthira performing Jata Karma for Parikshit Maharaj with the help of Dhaumya and Kripacharya. Then there is an example of Kripacharya. Prabhupada goes an example of Kripacharya's life. He was born in a very interesting condition, and he became, he rose to the spiritual and military prominence because he acquired Brahminical qualities. Spiritual equality and role in society, that's about brief of it. And the third is about samskara is done, charity. So authorized recipients of charity has to be only brahmanas or sannyasis who are engaged in the service of preaching the mission. That's the idea. What is the occasions for charity? Prabhupada writes, during important samskaras, birth, marriage, death, whatever. At each of these times, charity must be done. Without charity, no yajna or samskara can be completed. Material well-being of Brahmanas, far from being prayers, Brahmanas were materially secure due to charity and could devote themselves fully. So why this culture of charity has been recommended? So Brahmanas doesn't have to work about how to make bread and how to earn bread and butter. They knew they would be provided as a means of charity, so they can dedicate their mind on thinking about the spiritual well-being. Charity was never random, but directed where it would serve genuine spiritual upliftment. Shastric injunction do not support indiscriminate charity nor the notion of Daridanaran. Therefore, as a devotees, we don't give out money to beggars. We are supposed to give out prasadam. That's the idea. Jata karma and auspicious giving at birth, when the umbilical cord is cut, the child becomes an individual. That is called as, that's the time, Jata karma. Now, he has his own karma. Samskara is performed. This is recognized as a spiritually potent time for charitable giving as divine and ancestral blessings converge. So this is some of the key points of the purport. Okay. So, if I can bring about the group work. So for this, we're only going to divide into 3 groups. So how many students we have here? We're not going to do it now. Let me ask this question to you. Because it's good if all of you also know each other, if you can have some interaction. Would it be okay for all of you to maybe meet for 30 minutes during the week sometime, which is of your convenient time, and do the discussion? Do you want to try that? Or do you want to do it in a classroom setting? In a classroom setting, it will take time. I will be restricted by much discussion. We've already covered one discussion. This discussion you can have it by yourself and then give your presentation. How many of you are okay of doing group work outside the class hour? This particular group work. Please raise your hand. How many of you are okay? During the week you can do that. So. Okay, so what we'll do that, we'll make 3 groups and we'll let you choose. And for others, those who don't want to do it, that's okay. If they may not have a time, whatever reason, we can do it that way. So we'll not do this exercise in the classroom setting because we have to a little bit balance out our study time also. So before I do that, any questions or comments? We conclude here for today's discussion. We have discussed up to the 14th verse. More details of 12th, 13th, 14th purport we'll hear from all of you. And now what happens next is Brahmanas now go into prediction. They will speak about who Parikshit Maharaj would be, what all will be the activities of Parikshit Maharaj. These are the next 15 verses of this chapter. Okay, so with that we pause here for today's discussion. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.